Hey everyone, and welcome back to another severe storm filmer weather forecast. In this forecast, we're going to be breaking down what's going to be the blizzard of 2026, and it's going to be very historic for the northeastern United States. I might sound like I'm hyping things up, but I'm not. Alright, so let's get right into this without further ado. First off, taking a look here at a live webcam between Boston and Providence. Notice here, this is the current view. Alright, the wind is really starting to gust. You can see snow is starting to fall, very light rates, but you can see how the snow is starting to fall. It's only going to get heavier. I can't imagine how crazy this picture is going to look around 2 and 3 a.m. tomorrow morning, all right? It's absolutely going to be bonkers in that area tomorrow morning, all right? And even down here toward New York, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., Richmond, Virginia, and Virginia Beach, you guys are starting to get in on some heavier snow. The wind isn't too big of a deal yet, and yet is the factor. All right, the big thing is that as we put this into motion in towards the overnight hours, again, midnight into 1 a.m., we're still going to be dealing with heavy snow falling all the way from New York City back down toward Virginia Beach and then wrapping back up toward the southern shores of, Long Island, back up into the southern New England states. Winds will likely start to really crank around this time. Then as you take it in towards 3, 4, 5, 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, it's going to look like a daggone hurricane across this area. All right, I'm talking about the entire Jersey Shore. I'm talking about all of Long Island. By the way, you guys are probably going to be dealing with coastal flooding along these areas and the potential of hurricane force wind gusts. All right, it's going to look like a hurricane. All right, and it's going to act like a hurricane because I tell you, the low pressure center is right here, and the flow around it is going like this. All right, so you're going to have water that's going to be thrown on all the coastal areas. All right, I might have overcircled there, but that's going to be the case. All right, so if you live anywhere in these areas, get ready for a bumpy ride as we headed towards tomorrow morning. And you notice as we head in towards the 8 and 9 a.m. hour, the low pressure system is starting to screech closer to the coast. This is when we could start seeing 3+ inch per hour rates start to impact areas of Nantucket, Providence, and Boston. Meanwhile, the wind gusts are going to be gusting near 80 miles an hour, and it's going to look like an absolute hurricane. And as we take this in towards the afternoon hours tomorrow, scooching this up toward Maine and Nova Scotia, you guys are going to start getting in on impacts, and the flooding threat is really going to increase across these areas, while these areas are going to be probably trying their best to clean up. I can't stress enough, there's still going to be blizzard-like conditions going on inland too. All right, so it's not just the coastal areas I'm worried about. It's this whole area right here that I'm mainly concerned about. All right, all the way from Philly, all the way up to, let's say, Concord, maybe Machias, or however you pronounce that city name up there in Maine. All right. So get ready if you live in the Northeast. This is absolutely not a storm you should be downplaying by any sort of stretch, all right? Let's take a peek at the wind gusts, all right? I already mentioned some wind gust values. Now let's take a look at what the model outputs are. All right, let's rewind this to now, 8 and 9 p.m. Eastern. All right, 30 mile per hour wind gusts along the coast, all these areas, maybe 40, near 50 across the Jersey Shore. Nothing too crazy for areas of Boston and Providence yet. You saw it was getting kind of windy there on the Providence camera, and trust me, as we headed towards the overnight hours, yeah, it's going to get significantly worse. All right, this is the view around 3 a.m. We're talking about 50 mile per hour wind gusts anywhere in this boxed out area, maybe nearing 60 in Long Island and Nantucket, that general area. And then as we head later on into the morning, here's 6 a.m. Notice here, now we're talking about 60 mile per hour wind gusts for areas of Boston, Providence, Nantucket, possibly nearing 80 near the coastal areas of Long Island, back down towards the Jersey Shores. And meanwhile, the coastal flooding threat is going to be very high along these coastal areas as we headed towards this time frame. Then as we take it in towards 8 and 9 a.m., still 80 mile per hour wind gusts ongoing for Nantucket, Providence, 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts still going on for Boston. And even over here, you're still dealing with the potential of 40-plus-mile-per-hour wind gusts. And then as we head in towards the later part of the morning and in towards the afternoon, we're still dealing with 70, upwards of 75-mile-per-hour wind gusts in Nantucket, Boston, Providence, that general area. Over here, we're dealing with 45 to 55-mile-per-hour wind gusts, possibly 60. And this is when Maine is going to start cashing in on the blizzard-like conditions with the potential of 50-plus-mile-per-hour wind gusts. And then as we take it in towards tomorrow evening, this thing is still going to be cranking out 40-mile-per-hour wind gusts from Boston all the way back to Philadelphia. So the wind is definitely, without a doubt, going to be a big issue with this storm system. And in terms of snowfall accumulations, those are also going to be extreme. All right, that's what makes this storm so historic and so big time. All right, or what some people call the blizzard of 2026. All right, so you add the 60 to 80 mile per hour wind gusts, possibly 85. I forgot to mention along the coastal and those red colors. Rewind if you want to see those wind gusts. But as you can see, this is around 9 p.m., an hour after this video is made. Look at how fast these accumulations go up across New York and Philadelphia. We went from 1 to 3 inches in 1 hour. That's what I'm talking about. We're talking about possibly 2-3 inches per hour. And you notice as we headed towards the overnight, look how fast this piles up. All right, I mean, look at this. Long Island, you're probably dealing with 8 inches around 3 a.m. And I mean, in this entire area, you might be dealing with perhaps closer to a foot. All right, and then those pink areas, that's where you'll likely have those 12 to 14 inches of snow. And then as we head in towards, let's say, the late morning and early afternoon, this is when it's really going to pile up across this area. All right, these areas along the coast could, get up to 3 feet. All right, that's what that navy blue color is. Those pink colors are closer to 2 feet, so the more vibrant they are, the more closer to 2 feet it is. And then as we head throughout the rest of tomorrow evening, I mean, this is the end of the storm. All right, let's zoom it out for you. All right, I know you can see that we obviously have a huge swath of heavy, heavy snow to contend with. And on top of that, the wind gusts are just going to make things 100 times worse. All right, this is going to be like the blizzard of 1978, maybe even worse in some areas. All right, and I'm not kidding when I say that. Guys, do not underestimate this storm. All right, if you're in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, back toward, Connecticut, back towards New Jersey, southeastern New York, you do not want to be one to underestimate this storm. All right, this is absolutely going to be one for the record books and in a big way. All right, you guys are going to be shoveling out probably 30 inches of snow, probably near 50-inch snow drifts with the high winds. All right, it's going to, like I said before, look like a hurricane. All right, so definitely know that. But I do also want to acknowledge the lake effect zones over here on the far western side of the storm. All right, this is going to be an area to watch out for maybe a localized corridor of 6, maybe higher inches of snow. All right, back towards Ohio, back in towards northwestern Pennsylvania, maybe up towards New York, dealing with the potential of 4, 5, 6 inches of snow, maybe 8. And those darker blues there down here toward West Virginia. You guys are used to this. This is just a normal snow for you guys. High winds could cause blizzard conditions across those areas. But like I said before, the story is going to be the nor'easter over the course of the next 24 hours. It is going to get absolutely nasty in a huge way across this area. And I'm going to do one last thing before I hop off here and the event starts getting real underway as we headed towards the overnight. Let's take a peek at the current live webcams, all right? I'm just going to spot down here toward New York City some traffic cameras, all right? You notice here on the left side of your screen how you can see the camera wobbling back and forth, all right? And you can see how it is also snowing pretty good, that you can barely see that building in the background. Now, what about Long Island? All right, what about this area? All right, notice here I-495. You can't see a thing. All right, that could be due to the weight of the snow, the heaviness of the snow, but it gets even worse. Look along the coast. All right, look at the roads along the coast. I mean, this doesn't look like, hurricane force wind gusts or anything like that, but this is absolutely blizzard conditions, all right, or at least close to it. We're dealing with 30, probably 40 mile per hour wind gusts at times, and we're dealing with probably near zero visibility and heavy snow rates coming down probably at an inch per hour or so, and that will only continue to get worse, all right? You can see the darker colors there. That once that gets up there, that's going to start producing your 3 to 4 inch per hour rates. And as a matter of fact, let's take a look at where those are right now. Let's take a look at Salisbury. See, the snow might be heavy enough to where some of these cameras are just refusing to load. All right, this is Atlantic City. All right, you can see how, it's hard for these cameras to blow around, but look at the trees. All right, those are some decent wind gusts. You guys can see, if you look closely, that tree's moving really good. And you guys can see how the visibility is absolutely dropping. You guys are probably dealing with 40, near 50 mile per hour wind gusts if I had to guess. Let's take a look now at Washington, D.C. All right, what does Washington, D.C. look like? Well, nothing too crazy yet. You guys are under a winter storm warning, however, so you guys should absolutely be watching this. Or is that a winter weather advisory? All right, either way, it's going to be highly impactful. Let's take a look at what Denton looks like. I think this is in Delaware, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know, New Jersey, something like that. But let's take a look at that, all right? It's completely bad. That does not help. Let's take a look up here toward, let's see, let's do southeastern New York. All right, you can see, let's take a peek here. All right, yeah, this is absolutely going to get worse over the next few hours. All right, people, I have no idea why they're on the road, but if you guys are one of those people who are planning to travel and you're in New York City or anywhere along the northeast coast that I talked about in this video, get ready. All right, and don't travel. All right, I highly disregard it. All right, it's mainly due to the fact that we're going to have combination of hurricane force, 60 to 70, 80 mile per hour wind gusts, especially up here. In addition to that, the potential of 24 to 30 inches of snow in some areas. All right, this absolutely is going to cause problems for a lot of areas. All right, one last camera I will look at is Brookhaven. I think you can pronounce that right. In Long Island. All right, let's take a peek at what that's doing. All right, looks like there's a lot of snow on that camera, or the wind's really strong and obstructing the complete view. We can also look at this one. I don't think that's the case. All right, I think there's just a lot of snow on there, but you guys can see visibility is absolutely starting to drop. Wind gusts are starting to pick up at least a little bit across these areas. The low pressure center is way out here still, though, so it's going to take a little bit for those wind gusts to kick up to about 60 miles an hour. But by early morning, you guys will be dealing with that across Long Island and several other areas. All right, folks. I'm Severe Storm Filmer. Have a good rest of your night. Stay safe out there. This is going to be a historic winter storm.